Ever since 2008, insurance policies and health benefits with many companies have changed. It's so important that you understand what insurance coverage you have, and if it's not adequate, seek the right advice to get the right coverage. This is what we are exploring today. Insurance is such a big subject. Do we need it? Don't we need it? Tell us, Rickson, what should we first consider?
I think the first thing to keep in mind is ourselves as people. What are our needs? There is no one solution for everybody. So it's very important to understand what do we need first of all, and based on that, get the contracts drafted out, get the right advice, seek the right consultant out. If you ask me today, what I would take into account when I'm buying my own insurance is, first of all, do I have any dependents? How dependent are they on me financially?
And for how long, right?
And for how long? If I'm not around tomorrow, who supports them? Can they manage without me? And if not, how much money is required now? I'll give you a for instance. If I need about $30,000 a year for my dependents, then I need to roughly have about $1 million of life insurance cover. Because if I were not around, then they would take the $1 million, put it in a deposit, and basically get about 3% per annum. At 3% per annum, that would give them about $30,000 a year or $2,500 a month. But that's how I would buy life insurance. Then there's disability insurance to consider. There's critical illness. There's your simpler things like motor insurance, your home insurance. It's a vast list. But it is important to consider you as an individual versus one product fixes everybody's problem.
So many different insurances, and with life insurance in particular, how do we start to calculate how much insurance we actually need?
I think the first thing to consider is our own needs as individuals. What kind of a family do we have? What kind of a lifestyle do we have? If we were not there tomorrow, rather if our income was not there tomorrow, how long can our families sustain themselves? Do we have any liabilities? When do our children go to school? Is the house paid off? Do you have any other responsibilities, whether it's your business, your staff, etc.? Ideally, what I would say is someone in his 30s to 40s could roughly get about 20 times his income as a life insurance cover. But what I would consider is expenses. So if I was not around today, how much of money does my family need on a monthly basis to carry on living the same life? So we're not talking about luxuries over here, but the necessities. So if you're looking at about $1 million of life cover, that would give you about $30,000 a year in income if that money was invested at 3% per annum.
Plus then you'd add in, as you've said, the mortgage needs repaying.
Absolutely. These things need to be considered. So if I need $30,000 a year right now, but if I have a mortgage that's outstanding for $1 million, I need to have about $2 million of life insurance in place. The $1 million goes to pay out the mortgage, and the rest of the money takes care of the income for the family.
And education, you mentioned as well.
It's a huge thing, because 18 years from now, if my child is just born today, 18 years from now, he or she is going to go to college, and that's going to cost a pretty penny. So where does that money come from? It could come as a lump sum at that point in time, after which your insurance levels reduce. But there are various factors to consider. I think the best thing to really do is sit down with the consultant, go over your entire expense sheet, your goals for the future, what you want to accomplish, and set up your insurance policy to keep that in mind. The other thing to consider with insurance is also inheritance taxes. If you live in the UK, or if you're from the UK, about 55% of your estate is taxed. So if you want to leave something behind for your dependents, you've got to consider and factor that into account as well.
Yeah. What are the different types of insurances out there, and what benefits do they have?
Well, the obvious ones are life insurance. That's the big one, I think. Life insurance is very simple. First of all, what insurance does is replaces a loss of income. So if you consider life insurance, what that would do is take care of a loss of income that you would be bringing home to your family. It pays out to your dependents, and they carry on from an income perspective, from an expense perspective, as if nothing happened. Then there's the critical illness, which is the big thing. You say 1 in 3 or 4 people will suffer some form of critical illness before the age of 65.
Wow.
This is a big thing. Critical illness is designed to pay out a lump sum of money which helps you recover quickly. It does not necessarily pay your medical bills, but this is designed to make sure that during the recovery period, if you have to take a sabbatical from work, then your bills are not something that you're considering. There's disability income, which is a big thing. So loss of limbs, As a result of that, if you're unable to work for a short period of time or permanently, there has to be something that can replace that loss of income. And that's where this kicks in. Apart from this, there are also things like long-term care, which is huge. And the more generic forms of insurance which we use and see on a daily basis is your motor insurance, there's your travel policies, there are things to cover you from a liability perspective depending upon the profession you're in. So it's really a very vast subject. I'd say for the individuals to look into, it may be worth looking at your life insurance, your critical illness, disability income, and possibly your motor, home and contents, and things like that.
Well, that was a lot of different types of insurances. For us living in the UAE in particularly, how do we choose the right type of insurance for us?
I think it's, again, important to take stock of what you require as individuals, first of all. A lot of people come here as expatriates and they assume that the contracts that they have back home can cover them over here. Most of those policies will actually nullify themselves once you become an expatriate. So it's important to use providers that are based out of here because they would adhere to the rules and regulations and the requirements over here as an expatriate, which is a very unique proposition, really. What also needs to be done is take yourself into account. Do some research, check online. There are calculators available online that can let you figure out what level of coverage is required, what type of insurance you would require. There are expatriate websites that can guide you and let you know what you could use, what other people like you are buying. But also bear in mind that a solution for somebody else may not necessarily be the right one for you. These things are predominantly bespoke solutions, and it makes sense to buy them like that based on your requirement. I think ideally what should be done is, a consultant should be brought into the picture. Sit and discuss your life with them, and let them understand what you want as an individual and come down with solutions. I think it's also very important for you to take onus of this and not just go with the solution that's provided, but do some homework, some research, find out if this is right for you, and then decide based on your budgets.
And it's so important, isn't it, just to know for yourself your own situation and, like you said, where you are now and where you want to be.
Absolutely, that makes a very big difference. Because if you don't plan to be in this region for more than 3 to 4 years, then the question is, does it make sense in you buying a contract that's going to last you for, till you're 100? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it doesn't have to be the same answer for everybody.
UAE Money Talk aims to help people understand insurance better and helps them identify as individuals how to seek the right coverage.